Gangsta Street is dead. We're coming to get our check.
Brothers and sisters, how you guys doing? How y'all doing? I'm a little late. I understand that. Sorry. Nikki, I see you in here talking about I'm pulling a Jason Black late. I'm trying. I didn't want to be late. I needed to be on time. I really did need to be on time, but unfortunately that didn't happen like that. But we are here now. Ace Keeper, how you doing? Our brother Torian Reigns, how you doing? Hold on, let me check something out real quick. Okay. So, be one to everybody in here. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure you guys leave a subscribe, press the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell, because a lot of times when I go live, this channel's kind of been shadow banned already. So you're not going to see it on your recommendations tab unless you hit that notification bell. So when I do go live, you guys will be able to see that. So please make sure you do that after you hit the subscribe button. Also leave a like, because that does help the channel as well too, and a comment. Also share this. Every time you share it, it helps the algorithm, whether you share it on Facebook, Twitter, or just even copy the link, because all of that stuff, they all add that stuff up. So yeah, make sure you do that. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Torian. You already got the troll out the room. Okay. So this is something that I wanted to wait. I've been monitoring this story, but this is something that I wanted to wait to really see, like, what was going to happen, because I found out about this story when it first broke, but I wanted to wait and make sure I knew exactly what was going to happen when the story broke. So there's been a significant amount of time, and I feel as if we should talk about it, because the elections is coming up. Lori Lightfoot needs to be voted out of office. So I definitely have to talk about this, because the news is really not talking about this, like, hardly at all. So it's up to me to do it. It's definitely up to me to do it. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Okay. Hold on, let me see something real quick. Make sure you guys can see it. All right, cool. Now, it says a Chicago officer keeps his job despite ties to Proud Boys. All right. Excuse me. Now, the officer's name is Robert Baker, so you guys know. It is going to say that in the article, but in many articles that I've seen, it really doesn't say that, his name, too often. Now, it goes on to say, the Chicago officer will remain in his position after it was revealed that he has ties to the Proud Boys organization and has not told police he is a suspect of an FBI investigation. The Chicago Sun-Times reporting Officer Robert Baker will be blocked for 120 days, which, if you calculate that, that's roughly about 4 months. The punishment comes after a lengthy investigation that ended with the mediation agreement in which Baker agreed not to contest the allegations against him, according to the Inspector General's report. So all he had to do was agree not to fight the case, and he gets a 4-month suspension. Okay, for having ties to a terrorist organization. All right. Continuing, the investigation into Baker began after. Now, I'm not sure why I'm going to say this, because they have his name Baker spelled with 1 K, and then they have Baker spelled with 2 Ks. Now, if you spelled it with 3 Ks, I would understand, but I don't know if that's just how his name is spelt, or if that was a typo. I assume that was a typo, so you guys know, because it confused me when I first read it. Okay. The investigation into Baker began after Vice News reported his ties to the Proud Boys organization in May 2020. The investigation revealed that Baker communicated with members of a group and organized meetings with group members. Many members of the far right white nationalists, and I'm just reading the report. All I'm doing is reading the report. I'm not saying anything. Oh, you said Baker can have 2K. I know it can, but like I don't know if they were spelling it correctly the first time or the second time. But I think it's the second time because every time they mention Baker after that, they always have it with 2K. So I think the first time they probably should have added a K. But anyway, many members of the far right, white nationalists, all male. Now, here's something. Get this. Notice how they say all male, as if this is some type of sexist organization. January 6th had a lot of white women. They did. So I want you guys to just keep this in mind because they're trying to spin the Proud Boys into something that the Proud Boys are not. And we're really going to get into that further on in the broadcast. So you guys definitely want to stay tuned. Please hit that like. Please do it. I would appreciate it if you guys do like this. But we're continuing. Okay. I'm going to finish this paragraph without interrupting anymore. Many members of the far-right white nationalist all-male group took part of January 6th Capitol riot and have prior experience in the U.S. military and law enforcement agencies. The group has been labeled a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Canadian government. In Vice chat transcripts, Baker expressed frustration at a rainbow-colored police emblem celebrating the LGBTQ community at the Chicago Police Department, CPD, posted on social media. Okay? Quote, I don't wear a rainbow bull and then bull S. That's what he meant. Baker said. Baker posted. In addition, the CPD Bureaus of Internal Affairs, the BIA, found that Baker failed to file a written report stating that he was the subject of an FBI investigation. The BIA eventually resolved the case with mediation agreement, but the office of the Inspector General pressed the CPD Superintendent David Brown to review the case and determine if Baker broke department rules by lying. Brown did not respond, but approved the 120-day suspension according to the Times. According to ABC News, at least 52 active duty or retired military, law enforcement, and public service personnel were among more than 400 people arrested for the actions in the January 6th riot. Among the arrests are more than half a dozen police officers and several elected officials. Quote, I am not really surprised that there is a sizable subset of defendants with that background, end quote. Mary McCord, a former national security official, told ABC News, quote, so for veterans, mission is very important. Veteran Affairs should examine how they can better serve veterans and help them enable productive missions. To be honest, I really don't know where that part came from. Not really sure where that part came from. But yeah, that's Officer Baker. Now, what a lot of the news, and I've been digging into this situation, what a lot of the news is actually not telling you is that Officer Baker is also under investigation for multiple, what they call sexual misconducts. And if you guys have been following me for a while, I've explained that cops do this thing where they, to substitute another word, they violate women and they use their police powers to kind of get away with it. So he's under investigation not just by the FBI for his connections to the Proud Boys into January 6th, but he's also under investigation for multiple sexual misconduct cases that's been filed against him. But the news reporters are really not talking about that. You really have to dig deep in order to find that. Another thing too, they're trying to spin this as he's not a member, which is why I titled the video the way I did. He's not necessarily a member of the Proud Boys. He just has very, very, very close ties to the Proud Boys, but it's not like he's a member of it. They're trying to say it without saying it. They're trying to give him a pass without really giving, because they can't say he has no ties, but they're saying, oh yeah, he was at the meetings. He was in all their secret group chats. He organized the January 6th riots. Every single thing that a member of the Proud Boys did, he did. But we can't really say if he's a member yet. Now, here's the thing. If this was a black person and a black person did something and that black person had ties to any sort of gang, instantly they would say that person is a part of a gang. Instantly. Oh, you're a gang member. If you did something, if you just were related to a gang member and y'all just close and you did something, they would be all like, okay, well, you're related to him. We have pictures with you and this gang over here. You are wearing this color, and this color is synonymous with this gang right here. So you're a part of this gang. You're in this group chat with a gang, so you're a part of this gang. They would do that instantly, instantly, um if this was a black person. Now, but the fact that he's not a black person and the fact that this is the Proud Boys, they're saying he has ties to the Proud Boys. What does that mean? If you really think about it, what does it mean to have ties to the Proud Boys? The way I see it, I don't see how this man could be any more official to the Proud Boys. I really don't see it. Y'all have to catch him with a Proud Boys name tag. Y'all just didn't find the name tag when y'all went in his house. And y'all was all like, well, without the name tag, we can't really say he's a part of the Proud Boys. Like, this double standard wouldn't be that way, or the standard wouldn't be that way if it was a black man. You know it wouldn't be that way if it was a black man. But look at how, now I'm going to get to the second article in just a moment, but pay very close attention, and this is going to be very interesting, and I'm going to use substitute words here, but this is going to be very, very interesting, the way they kind of twist the Proud Boys. Y'all going to be like, wow, because I was like that when I saw it. So check this out. Okay. It says, decision not to fire police officer tied to Proud Boys alarms members of groups targeted by far-right groups. Whew, y'all gonna get ready for this. Y'all, please tell me you guys have left a like already. Please tell me you guys have done that. Please tell me that. David Brown, y'all. David Brown. Now here we go. It says leaders in Chicago's J-ish, and you guys can already see what the word is, J-ish and academy, as our brother Torian would say, communities. Now I'm just reading what the article says. This is not my opinion. I'm just going to read what the article says. The J-ish in the academy, okay, community said Tuesday they are alarmed that the Chicago police officer who lied about his ties to far-right Proud Boys will not be fired, and added that they are concerned that city leaders appear incapable or unwilling to weed out extremists from the department ranks. Okay? Going down. Both Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Chicago Police Superintendent, that's what that stands for, David Brown, have defended the decision not to terminate the officer, who has not been identified by city officials in keeping the rules governing misconduct investigations, but to suspend him for 120 days. This is why, so you guys know, that's why I read the article before. Because this type of article, they don't want to say his name. Oh, his name hasn't been revealed. Now, looking at the dates, I want you guys to pay attention. The date of the article that I read before was on the 19th. This article is on the 26th. This is on the 26th. What is today's date? The 27th. So this was yesterday, and they're saying his name is not revealed. His name has been revealed. They're just saying his name is not revealed because they don't want to keep putting his name out there. You guys, we got to pay attention to that. That is exactly why I read the previous article first. Now, Continuing. Okay. Proud Boys have been labeled by the FBI as an anti-Semitic white supremacy organization. According to the quarterly report by Inspector General Deborah Winsberg, released October 14th. That report documented the um, culmination of two probes into the officer and his ties to the Proud Boys. The group has been designed a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Okay, so they're talking about this as an anti-Semitic organization right here. Now keep going. David Goldenberg, a Midwest regional director of the Anti-Defamation League, said that he and the Jayish civil rights organization is, quote, deeply concerned about the presence of the extremists in law enforcement and calls on agencies to act decisively when they are identified. Quote, part of the strategy of these extremist groups is to recruit out of law enforcement agencies and to infiltrate them, Goldberg said. That is a larger question. What are leaders doing to root it out? In question. Okay. Continuing. Judy Levy, I believe, Levy or Levy, I believe it's pronounced Levy, um, execute, hold on, let me see. Executive director of the J-ish Council. Notice how many times they talk about the J-ish community. Just pay attention to that. This is like what, the third time they have mentioned them specifically. The J-ish Council on Urban Affairs, which fights anti-Semitism, racism, and poverty, said that she is furious and that the officer was not immediately terminated. Quote, this is utterly irresponsible, Levy said. Quote, it is incomprehensible that the officer would not be fired. Where are our leaders? Brian C. Johnson, CEO of Equality Illinois, a statewide LGBTQ civil rights organization, said gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and queer Chicagoans are right to be concerned that they could be stopped by an officer with ties to the Proud Boys and mistreated. Continuing. Members of the Proud Boys targeted trans people by disrupting drag queen brunches and story hours throughout Chicago area, including the Uprising Bakery and Lake in the Hills. Quote, we should never accept an officer willing to flirt with an anti-queer ideology, as we've seen here, Johnson said. Officers like that should not be in our police force. Johnson said queer Chicagoans, quote, feel most unequal when interacting with the criminal justice system, really. And the continued presence of the officer in the department ranks will quote, double down on the deep distrust. Whew. Goldberg said the Proud Boys are, quote, equal opportunity haters that will target many marginalized communities. The ADL documents, which is the Anti-Defamation League, so you guys know, the ADL documented 2,717 incidents across the country targeting Jayish people in 2021, the highest number of hate crimes in 1 year. The highest number of hate crimes in 1 year since it began tracking such data in 1979. Now, they're not saying it's the highest number of hate crimes among people who are targeted. They're saying it's the highest number that they have faced because we have always been the highest number of hate crimes. We have doubled the highest number of hate crimes in comparison to every other group that is targeted. There is no group that is targeted more than us. What they do is they'll say, "Oh my God, their hate crime rates, it's doubled. Oh my, it's doubled." As if, oh my God, their hate crime groups exceeds our hate crime groups, our hate crime numbers. I mean, so you guys know, a lot of their in let me be careful, but a lot of other groups. I'm not just talking about one group. A lot of other groups' hate crimes can be overly calculated, and black people's hate crimes is oftentimes undercalculated. I got to be very careful with what I say here. I got to be very careful. You said I should take calls tonight. I haven't taken calls in a long time. That probably would be, yeah, if I have some time, if I get through all of this, I might do that. That's a good idea, Nikki. Thank you. Now, now you say they're targeting, yeah, exactly. They're talking about ignore FBA grievances. That's all they're doing. Exactly. That's 100% the case. 100% the case. Now, continuing. In Chicago, hate crimes reported to Chicago Commissions on Human Relations rose 71% as compared to the same period last year. More than 22% of those complaints detailed a hate crime against the Jayish Chicagoan, more than any other group, according to city data. Now, I just told you most of foundational Black Americans' hate crimes do not get reported as actual hate crimes. And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail later on. But it continues to say, Brown told members of the Chicago, oh, wait, I'm skipping. Anti-Semitism is on the rise among extremist members of law enforcement. Goldberg said, it's a real issue. Brown told members of the Chicago City Council that he had zero tolerance for police officers who are member of hate groups or associated with members of hate groups. Yeah, but you're not firing them though. Not really even giving them any real consequences though. But I digress. But investigators with the Department Bureaus of Internal Affairs, quote, were not able to prove by any purpose let me see, hold on. Preponderance, sorry, by a preponderance of evidence that this officer was a member of or was associated with the Proud Boys or any other hate group, Brown said. Now, Brown is trying to cover up for Robert. That's what he's doing. He's saying, yeah, the investigation is just, there's not enough evidence. Anytime the cops get caught with anything, there's always not enough evidence to tie them into something. Now, David Brown doesn't have that issue when it comes to gang crimes in Chicago. You got rappers right now. Now, this might be in Atlanta specifically, but you have rappers right now who are getting RICO charges just because of rap lyrics and loose ties that they have to gangs. They don't have any solid evidence that they are tied to gangs. You have actual solid evidence that a law enforcement officer is connected, planned, and orchestrated a terrorist attack on the government, and you are saying, well, it's really, I mean, yeah, he did plan a terrorist attack on an organization. Yeah, he has been talking to them for years. Yeah, he's a part of all their secret meetings and secret organizations. But is that really enough, though? I don't know. Like, what does he need to have a Proud Boys tattoo just written on his neck? The way they tell it, you need to have. I mean, You don't. These people are the ones who they see a cop taking picture of, the white supremacist hand signal, and they talking about that's the circle game. That's the circle game. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, you as a black man, you throw up any hand signal, and they're talking about, well, that must be a gang. That's a gang sign right there. That's a gang sign. So this is what the Chicago superintendent David Brown is on. Now, continuing, he said, or continuing, the officer was found to have committed minor violations, quote, and a 200, much less, 120-day suspension represented a, quote, high level of discipline, Brown said. Lightfoot has also defended the decision not to fire the officer. The officer was thoroughly investigated and given a lengthy period of suspension, Lightfoot said October 18th. Quote, It's it is about accountability, Lightfoot said. I think the police department took the steps that the evidence that was gathered through the course of the two investigations warranted, end quote. That probe determined the officer made a quote, a false statement, end quote, during the course of the investigation when asked if the sorry, attended a Proud Boy sponsored barbecue. I guess they have those. A Proud Boy sponsored barbecue, and made a contradicting statement during a recorded interview about participation in a group chat with members of the Proud Boys, according to report. Former investigator General Joseph Ferguson argued that the superintendent to concern determining a termination of officer because they violated departmental rules prohibiting and making a false report. Brown did not report to that recommendation and approved the 120-day suspension. During the Chicago Police Department's annual budget hearing, Brown faced intense questioning from members of the Chicago City Council about how he could achieve this self-proclaimed goal of rebuilding trust among Chicagoans in the department that has faced decades of complaints about excessive force, misconduct, and mistreatment. Neither Lightfoot nor Brown have addressed that question directly. Of course they did. Lightfoot, Chicago's first lesbian mayor, was endorsed by Equality Illinois' Political Action Committee. Quote, I expect all mayors of Chicago, no matter who they are, to be forceful defenders of all people of Chicago, Johnson said. Several current and former members of the Proud Boys have been charged with insidious conspiracy. Um, for the federal prosecutors say that the coordinated attack on the U.S. Capitol to stop Congress from certifying President Joe Biden's 2020 electoral victory. A former leader of the group pledged guilty October 6th and agreed to cooperate with the government's ongoing investigation. Andy Campbell, a reporter from the Huffington Post, covered the Proud Boys and the author of the book, quote, We Are Proud Boys, how a right-wing street gang ushered a new era in American extremism. Okay, end quote. Said Chicago officers apparently do not understand that every member of the Proud Boys is biased against anyone who is not white and male. And male. Notice and male. Y'all see this? Anyway, we're almost done. Here we go. It is patently ridiculous, end quote, to suggest that someone with documented ties to a group could fulfill his duty as an Chicago officer, Campbell said, adding that he has shocked the department's probes documented so little the latest or more than 2 years. Quote, it seems pretty easy to make the call that the officer should be fired, Campbell said, but I suggest it's not. Okay. So, that is the end of that right there. Let's take a moment to really think about that. Let's really take a moment to think about that. Throughout that entire article, they mentioned racism one single time. They only mentioned racism once. Not in the article, not one single time did they mention the word black. They said that the Proud Boys is an anti-Semitic organization, an anti-LGBT organization, and even an anti-woman organization. But they never said that the Proud Boys is an anti-black organization. Not one single time. They completely flipped it. Do you guys, because we've been reporting on the Proud Boys doing small little things, but let's be totally real. Let's be totally honest. Have we had any incidents of police officers just beating up people from the academy, as our brother Torian would say? They just see a trans and they just beat them up. They shoot them in the back. And then you find out that they have ties to Proud Boys or any other alt-right organization. Have we ever seen that? Have we ever? I'm asking the question. I'm not making any sort of suggestions or anything like that. I'm just asking a question to the audience who are listening. And if I'm wrong, you guys tell me I'm wrong. When it comes to certain religious organizations, have we ever seen a report of certain religious organizations, a member from a religious group, being thrown out of their car, beaten up, even deleted, shot, deleted, being falsely arrested, being falsely incarcerated, being served disproportionate prison sentences? Have we ever seen that when it comes to discrimination of anti-Semitism? I just want to know. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not stating, so you guys know, Afro Elite is not stating that it doesn't happen. I'm just asking, where has it happened? That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying it's not ever happened, but I'm just asking, where in the world has that ever happened? That's all I'm asking. Where has it ever happened? Because I don't want YouTube to say I'm saying anything that's I shouldn't be saying. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying we have situations where this happens again and again and again and again and again, only to Black people, very specifically the foundational Black American society. Only to us does this happen. But then in the articles, they're talking about, well, look at the anti-Semitism in the Proud Boys. Really? That's weird. That's interesting. That's okay. Or I guess the homophobia in the Proud Boys. Okay. What? That's something else. I'm just saying. I haven't seen it. I'm not saying that you guys have not seen it. I'm just saying I've never seen it. And in this article right here that doesn't mention his name, I want you guys to pay attention to that. This article does not mention his name. The article before that was made like a week ago that was made. Actually, if this was made on the 26th and the article before was made on the 29th, this article was literally made a week prior. So his name has already been out there, but this article has stated that it oh, I almost dropped my microphone. This article has stated that it does not have access to the officer's name because they're not trying to for people to dig in and find out the roots to other officers who are connected to the Proud Boys goes a lot deeper than anything else. So they're trying to hide his name. You can barely find a picture of the guy, to be honest. They're not even really trying to show a picture of the guy like that, to be honest. They're just saying he's been suspended. The David Brown, the superintendent, Mayor Lightfoot, she defended it, all of that stuff. They're not trying to really connect this guy. So this is, and we say the right and the left, they're really two birds of the same coin because these are left wing media outlets who are not trying to out this man's name. Chicago is a democratically run city. Okay, Mayor Lightfoot is a Democrat. So all of these people are on the left that say that they are against the Proud Boys and they are against all these alt-right organizations and all of that stuff, yet they are protecting them. And this is why I always say these people are all on code. All on code. The small little differences they have, that's among their society. That's not among black society. Because they team up in black society against black people all of the time. Any, anybody, anybody that harms black society, the right side protects them as well as the left side protects them. They have a movie out, Till. I guess this is supposed to be some story of of Emmett Till from like the mother's point of view or whatnot. And Carolyn Bryant, who is still alive, people know where she is. Nobody's talking about going and arrest Carolyn Bryant. People have found the warrant for Carolyn Bryant. Now, all of these uh liberals and all of that stuff that say, oh my God, Black Lives Matter, man, and I understand your pain, and that's the alt-right, and I understand the black and the brown and all of that, dude. They're not talking about Carolyn Bryant. None of them are talking about that because every single time one of them harms anybody black, they all sync together. Because what the right does, the right defends it. They be all like, well, I mean, if you didn't run away, he probably wouldn't have shot you 7 times in the back. What do you expect? Well, I mean, you look like you had. Well, from his perspective, the officers do have a dangerous job, man. Sir, the officers have a dangerous job. They got to get home to their families because only their families count. And you're walking, your hand is black. He thought it was a gun. So, I mean, you have to see it from his perspective. We have to wait till the entire investigation is done before you say anything. Now, that's what the alt-right will say. And then the leftists, they'll say, like, they won't say that. They'll be like, yeah, man, it's wrong. It's super bad. Black Lives Matter, man. The police need to take sensitivity training, dude. That's what I think. But they won't go after punishing anything. They won't even mention it. The fact that this is not viral is because black people don't know about it. That's it. When it comes to these liberals, and I say this in Chicago because they talk about how liberal and progressive Chicago is. When it comes to the liberals, anything that's against harming black society, they don't want to really mention it. They only mention it if it's super viral and they can't ignore it. If they can ignore it, they will ignore it every time. This is why you never see them actually break any story. The story is always broken or always goes viral because of black people's reaction to it. And then you have all of these liberals that come on like, oh my God, man, Black Lives Matter, dude. And I feel your pain because, my great grandmother was black. So I'm kind of like a black person too. You really think about it. So I feel it, man. My hair's a little curly. I feel it, dude. Like, that's how they get when it comes to black people once the story goes viral, after the story goes viral. Before that, when it comes to like Carolyn Bryant, they can be like, let me not say anything because I don't really want her to be punished. They really don't want these people to be punished. This is why I'm saying they are all on the same side. Now, they talk about anti Semitism in the police department, they talk about homophobia in the police department. Not talking about anti black racism in the police department, but I find that interesting because when we see cases like this, like Laquan McDonald, who was deleted by Jason Van Dyke, who was recently let go, mind you. But when we see cases like this, you think, who are the true targets out here? Who are really the true targets? Federal civil rights lawsuit filed after Chicago police officer shot 13-year-old boy, paralyzing him. Before we go on, do you think this was a... I'm going to ask a question, a multiple choice question. Now, the lawsuit was filed because a 13-year-old boy was shot in the back by a police officer. Now, before we continue, this is just me asking. Do you think this is an anti-black attack? Do you think that this is an anti-Semitic attack? A, anti-black, B, anti-Semitism, or C, homophobia? Before I continue, I just want to know what you guys think. Between those three, A, was this the 13-year-old boy being shot in the back by a police officer? Was it A? Was it an anti-black attack? Was it B? Do you think this was anti-Semitism, or was it C? Was this homophobia? I really want to know, which one do you guys think it is? Which one do you think it is? Because to me, in my humble opinion, it seemed very much so like this was A. A. Oh, somebody's saying A, of course. Somebody saying, hey, I really want to know, because I might be wrong and I don't want YouTube saying that I'm pushing anything out there or I'm targeting another group. So I'm just asking the questions and I am allowing people to answer, because I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but we have people who are saying, hey, this is an anti-Semitic, or I mean, an anti-black attack. So let's see if that was correct. Let's see if this was an anti-black attack. All right. Guys, can you guys please make sure you guys leave a like? Make sure that you guys leave a like, please. Thank you very much. All right. Now, hold on. Yes, up here. Attorney for 13-year-old boy who was shot by Chicago police and badly injured says the officer involved should not have been in active duty. Surveillance video from West Side gas station shows the moment the night of May 18th when a 13-year-old boy running from police was shot as he appears to lift his hands in the air. Police said the boy was a passenger in a stolen car and ran from police. Attorneys for the boy's family, who only identify him as AG, says he is permanently paralyzed from the waist down. Now, we're going to see the mother, and then we're going to see if this was A, anti-black, B, anti-Semitic, or C, homophobic. So this is the mother.
Everybody.
Oh, it
All
looks
I
like
have
it
to
was
say
A,
is,
y'all. It looks like it was A.
hello, everybody. All I have to say is today that I'm just concerned about my child. He might not walk again. He laying up there, he cry all the time because he just wish he would have stayed in the house that day because he might not ever walk again. And it's sad because he liked to play ball. He liked to ride bikes. He liked to play football. He been on Chicago Vikings team, the Chicago Park District. He just won't be able to do all that again if he's never able to walk. And it's crazy because they had no reason to shoot my child. He complied with them, and all they had to do was grab him. All I want is justice for my baby. That's all I want. I don't really care about too much else. I just want justice for my child.
Hmm. Yeah, I know it's a hard one because based off of that article, you say, "Oh, I thought it was B." Based off of that article, you would think this probably was B. Based off of the previous article we just read, you'd think that this was B, but apparently it's A. Funny how the story of anti-blackness didn't make it into the Proud Boy story or article we just read. Continuing. The family attorneys have filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Chicago and the officer who opened fire that night, Noah Ball. Quote, he can't even go outside without his mom and his brothers taking the wheelchair down 3 flights of stairs, said Andrew Scorth, his family's attorney. His reality is a nightmare. This poor child, 13 years old. Okay? Now, it goes on. The original lawsuit, which filed 5 months ago without the officer's name, was dismissed and refiled Wednesday to include new information that attorneys believe strengthened their case. It involves an incident from a earlier year when on June 16th, 2021, Officer Ball opened fire on a suspect he was chasing down in an alley. Do we want to play that game again? Guess if it's A, B, and C. Guess who he opened fired on in an alley in 2021? You guys think it's A, B, and C, or you guys think it's following a pattern? Okay. In a case, the suspect was not hit. Okay, so this is a gun happy trigger officer. I wonder if this officer, if Noah Ball, has any connection to the Proud Boys organization like Robert Baker does. I wonder. I wonder. Okay. In this incident report published by Civilization Officer of Police Accountability, Officer Ball stated that offender fired first. Of course, he stated that. Oh yeah, they always shot first. Of course. Um, OCPA also released the body cam area footage from the 2021 shooting and said that the case remains active, meaning there are currently 2 investigations against the same officer. Now, the first investigation clearly, so you guys know, the first investigation clearly wasn't enough to say, okay, you got it. See, actually, let me just completely pause this so I can. Now, when it comes to this type of stuff, this officer was firing against somebody who is running away, and he has an investigation on him. Clearly, Officer Brown and not Superintendent David Brown and Lori Lightfoot, what they should have done is been like, hey, you just can't be some gun happy uh Punisher cowboy out here shooting people from running away from you. So we need to pause this. If you say he shot first, we need to suspend you. Um, uh, even if you want to give him a paid suspension, which yeah, because he actually didn't hit him, which I personally wouldn't give him a paid suspension. But even if you do that and say, okay, we need to suspend you until this investigation is thoroughly investigated. Okay, let me tell you something. If you work at a retail store and somebody suspects you of stealing from the cash register and they suspend you while they're looking at the cameras and while they're doing their investigation and stuff like that, you're not going to be back at that job until that investigation is over with and they determine that you did not steal from the store. So why is it that Walmart, Target, Best Buy, wherever, why is it that these retail stores have a stricter policy for people working at a cash register than the Chicago Police Department has for officers who are carrying guns and shooting at people? How does that make any sense at all? I don't know, but you have articles saying that Chicago police departments should be more responsible because leaders of the Anti-Defamation League and leaders of the I guess LGBT community organization, they are in fear of the officers. But all of the officers coincidentally seeming like they're targeting black people. That's just amazing to me. That's amazing. It is. All right. Going on to say, in this incident report published by I already read that part. Okay. Quote, Noah Ball should not have been out there on the streets of Chicago with a gun in his head, said Brian Eldridge's, Edridge, sorry, I don't know, I'd butcher that name, Eldridge, a co-counsel of Hart, McLean, and Eldridge. Noah Ball should have been on the bench. He should have been retrained. Retrained. Ugh. Now, when you do something anti-Semitic, do they talk about retraining you? No, they don't. Spoiler, no. Okay. Now, it says the Chicago Police Department said Officer Ball had been released of his officer powers and on administrative duties, pending the outcome of the investigation. So this man isn't even on suspension. He's not even on suspension. He's just at the desk. This man is just filing paperwork. This man he didn't even get suspended, y'all. This man is just sitting up there at the desk. He's on administrative duties. David Brown, what the hell are you doing? Goes on to say, the officer's attorney, meanwhile, released a lengthy statement Wednesday that reads, in part, Officer Ball responsibly believed that the occupants of that vehicle had been involved in a very serious felony and had made maximum efforts to evade police, and that the object being pointed at him was a firearm. If you guys see the video, which I'm not about to show you guys, but if you guys actually look at the video, there is no object that was pointed. The boy didn't point an object at anything. The boy was completely unarmed. The 13-year-old boy was completely unarmed. This discharge of his weapon, while tragic, was within policy, and any standard Officer Ball's actions were reasonable. We are confident we can defend this position before any court or tribunal. Really? A spokesman for the city's law department, meanwhile, would only say that will review the lawsuit once it's served, and that they do not condemn. Comment on pending legislation. Please make sure you guys leave a like, because we definitely need this to get out there. Okay? A 13-year-old child was shot and paralyzed from the waist down. He is never going to be, even if by some miracle he might be able to stand up and walk with assist, like he may be able to walk with like crutches or something like that, because based off of the report that I read, he won't be able to. But let's say by some miracle he can, his life will never be the same again. Even if he makes a 100% recovery, this boy is traumatized. This boy is literally traumatized. And you have Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who is a liberal, David Brown, the superintendent, both of them are black. This is why we say all skin folk aren't kinfolk. Allows an officer, Noah Ball, to commit to this man is already under investigation for shooting at another black person who he alleged shot him first. It's crazy, to be honest. I think it's interesting. I think it's crazy how these officers get shot at first while the person is running away. I mean, you think if you're going to shoot at an officer, you're going to like hide behind something, you're going to have a stand. I just think that's interesting. That's interesting because when you take self-defense classes, when you take classes when it comes to gun ownership, they say the second somebody is running away from you, and the further they create the distance, the less of a threat they are. Let me tell you guys something. If somebody breaks into your house, you have the right, if you have a firearm in your house, this is law. If you have a firearm in your house, you legally have the right to defend yourself, because somebody is breaking into your house while you are in there. You have the right to believe that that person um has the intent to cause physical harm to you. If that person, let me tell you guys something. If that person picks up your TV, takes your TV off the wall, and starts running out the door with it, and you shoot that person, you cannot claim self-defense. The second that person turns their back to you and starts running away, if they think you are not at home, and bam, they just see you at home, so they start taking off. If you shoot them, you would be in the wrong, legally speaking. From a legal point of view, you can't shoot anybody in the back and claim self-defense. Even if they break into your house, you cannot shoot them in the back if they're running away from you. Even if they are armed, if they are running away from you, you cannot shoot them in the back and claim self-defense. You can't do that. Legally speaking, you cannot do that. But the cop can. The cop can. And they do all the time. This is something else. This is literally something else. Oh boy. Let me see. We do have a little bit of time left? I don't want to be on here too long. Let's see where the likes is at. Where's the likes at? Can we get the likes up, family? Can we get the likes up, please? We got to get these likes up. All right. But yeah, it is sick. Let me see. Do I want to take calls? Do I want to set up the do I want to take calls? Yeah. Yeah, I'll take some calls. Let me see. I'm gonna send the link. I'm gonna just send the link. I'm only gonna, I don't know, because I've already been on for okay. I don't know, because I've only been on for like an hour. I'm not trying to make this too long. Is there anybody in here? Because I would need a few people to take any calls. I'm not gonna do it if like one person. You're just gonna have to wait till next time, because I don't have too much time, to be honest. If somebody breaks into you said if somebody breaks into your house and turns their back and takes something, I should have a right to off them to kingdom come. Legally, you cannot do that. You cannot do that and claim self-defense. Self-defense, you can only make that argument only if you believe that your life or the life of somebody else is in immediate danger. The second that person starts taking off, and especially the farther they get from you, you cannot chase them down and shoot them. Even if they have your items, if they have your TV, or jewelry, if they opened the safe, took your money, or whatever the case is, they took some type of valuable belonging, you cannot do that and claim self-defense. You can't. You will be arrested. Okay? But the cops can. The cops can do that, though. There's special rules. There's a double standard when the cops do it, but the average citizen doesn't have that. The average citizen does not have that. Let me see. You know what? Yeah, I'll pass on the calls today. I'm not gonna be on too much longer. There's some things that I really want to get wrapped up. But this is why we need an anti-hate crime bill for foundational Black Americans. Because when an officer from the Proud Boys gets exposed, they say it's anti-Semitism and homophobia. Which I'm not saying it's not, but it's also not anti-Black. I want you guys to think they didn't even do the marginalized people of color, disenfranchised community stunt that they always pull in that article. They pretty much black people entirely out of that. They didn't even mention black and brown. They didn't even mention black and brown. They said racism, but they didn't even mention black and brown. These people are sitting up there saying the Proud Boys is against them. But you have officers like Noah Ball shooting 13-year-old black boys in the back while he's running away, paralyzing him. Thank God he is alive. That's something to be grateful for, that at least he lives. At least he can have, to a degree, a life to live going on in the future. To a degree he can. But yeah. He's paralyzed from the waist down. And the officer's not even suspended. The officer, who is already under investigation for really doing the same thing, isn't even suspended. That officer is just doing the desk. That officer is sitting up there drinking Dunkin' Donuts coffee and eating donuts, filing paperwork, sitting up there typing on the computer while he's under investigation. Now, I will keep track of this story, but where do you think this is going to go when they found out that he was in the wrong? Do you think that this officer will face any sort of consequences, real consequences, or do you think that this person is just going to be able to transfer to another department? Like the same officer that deleted Tamir Rice. Do you think that? This is why, too, I always say it's very important for us to know the officers' names. It is. Okay? Because the officer that deleted are the 12-year-old, because they love just shooting black boys, little black boys. The officer that deleted a 12-year-old Tamir Rice, Timothy Loman, he tried to get transferred to another city, to another department. But Black Society, Foundation Black Americans, we remembered the officer's name and we was like, oh no, we not tolerating that here. You're not gonna be the officer here. We be damned. No. This is why it's very, very important. That's why I wanted to state very early in the broadcast that the officer who is tied to the Proud Boys is named Robert Baker, and this officer is named Noah Ball, because the mainstream media, they're not going to put their names in the headlines. You got to scroll all the way down to find their name mentioned once or twice in a few articles, because they don't even like mentioning them in every single article. And then what they like to do is, especially if the story doesn't go viral, they sweep the story under the rug. The officer, even if the investigation determines that the officer is going to have to leave the department, what happens is the officer gets the word that, oh, okay, they're going to have to fire you. So the officer resigns, they get to resign, and then they transfer to another department. And because their name really wasn't in the mainstream media like that, and because their name doesn't carry the dark cloud over them like they should, they get to transfer to another department, and they do it all of the time. But I am not going to allow that. I'm just not going to allow that. Every single officer that does anything anti-black, every single one, if I find your name, I'm putting it out there. All of them. Every single one without a single exception. Because I know the mainstream media is not going to do that. So it's up to us to make sure that happens. It's up to us to make sure we remember the names of these officers. So Robert Baker, he doesn't go get transferred to somebody else after 120 days. It seems like he's not going anywhere, though. It seems like they're just saying, oh, you just, after the 120 days, I guess, did you learn your lesson? Okay, come back. And it seems like with Noah Ball, I don't know if he's going to be fired or not, but it seems like the severity of the consequences is not going to be justified. So it's up to us to make sure we remember all of these situations and all of these names. It's also up to us to make sure we stomp for our people. This is why I'm very excited for the rally in Washington, because we definitely have to push for an anti-black hate crime bill the same way the Asians got it. The same way the Asians got it. Somebody tell that to Roland Martin. You says, The mainstream media never posts the officer's name, but always posts the victim's name on display. Exactly. What the victim's name is, they'll become a hashtag. They'll become a hashtag, but the officer's name won't become a hashtag. And they try to sweep the officer's name under the rug. And it's the left media that does it a lot too. Because the left media, they'll put the hashtag of the victim's name. Oh, hashtag Tamir Rice, hashtag all these other, hashtag George Floyd, all these other victims of police brutality, hashtag Breonna Taylor, all these victims of police brutality and anti-black racism. But they won't put the officer's name out there. So the officer gets to kind of lay low until the heat dies and then go to another department. I'm telling you right now, I will not let that happen. I've seen it happen. And especially after the situation with Timothy Loman trying to do that, I take this as my personal responsibility to make sure that never happens. Any and all situations, even if the family is shucking and jiving, which I'm not gonna lie, the mom kind of was on that black, because she was up there with what's that one ambulance chasing attorney, Benjamin Crump. She was up there with them. She was on that black and brown stuff. I saw a video about that. That's why I didn't say anything earlier. She was on that. But I'm not gonna lie. Even if the family is off code, I'm not gonna necessarily stump for the situation, but I will make sure that the officer's name is out in the public. I will make sure of that. Because we at least have to keep track of these officers who are doing that so they don't just get to bounce around. Okay? So we all have to make sure that happens. But that will conclude tonight's broadcast. Thank you very, very much, family, for watching. Thank you, everybody who has liked. Thank you, everybody who has shared. Thank you, everybody who has subscribed to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, if you guys have not subscribed, please do so. You guys can also follow me on my social media, Afro Elite on Instagram and the Afro Elite on Twitter. The links are in the description below. I also have a site with merchandise. The link is also in that below. Cash App, everything, a link below. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified when I go live every single time. Thank you guys very much. You guys be safe out there, family. Please be safe out there. It's getting very dangerous for our people because we're making a big difference. We're making a huge difference out here. And with that, they get triggered. With that, they get angry. And that's fine. It's up to us to make sure in this situation, as our brother Professor Black Truth says, we just keep some power tools on us, because a lot of people, including myself, would say it's better to be tried by 12 than carried by 6. I fully agree. I second that statement. Because your life, your protection, your safety, and the safety of your family is your responsibility. It's not theirs. So you have to make sure that you take care of that. You have to make sure that you prioritize that. That is our responsibility. Okay? So with that being said, B1 salute to all of the brothers and sisters out there. I will catch you guys next week. Thank you guys very much for being here with me. Or not next week. Next week, because today's Thursday. Catch you guys next week. You guys be safe. You guys have a good weekend. I will see you guys. B1 salute. You guys take it easy.